Hey everyone, and welcome to your personalized deep dive. Today we're going to crack open the story of Caplin Point Laboratories. This is a company that I know a lot of you have been curious about, and we've got a really interesting stack of sources for this one. We've got earnings presentations, investor call transcripts, and of course financial reports. And let me tell you, this company is doing some really interesting things in the pharmaceutical world.
You know what I find intriguing about Caplin Point is that they've almost created this paradoxical situation for themselves.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they've been quietly racking up success for over a decade, consistently profitable. In fact, they are the #1 ranked company in all of India for profitable growth.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. And yet they've still managed to kind of fly under the radar, compared to some of the bigger pharma giants out there.
That's so interesting. It's like they've perfected this art of the stealth win.
Kind of, yeah. And it's especially interesting when you consider that they're the second largest wealth creator in India for the whole decade ending in 2020.
That's wild. I mean, that's not something you'd expect from a company that focuses on what they call the bottom of the pyramid.
Right.
What does that even mean in the pharmaceutical world?
It's a really unique approach, actually. They've concentrated on providing really high-quality generic drugs at prices that people can actually afford. And they've mainly done this in smaller Latin American markets.
Okay, so they're making high-quality medications accessible to people who might not otherwise be able to afford them.
Exact.
That's fantastic. And it seems to be working really well for them, too,
Mhm.
especially when you consider the financial cushion that this approach has given them.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's talk numbers for a second, because when I was looking through those financial reports, my jaw kind of hit the floor.
Yeah.
Caplin Point is sitting on cash reserves of over INR 1,081 crores,
Wow.
which is, I mean, if you do the conversion, that's over 130 million US dollars,
Yeah.
and their total liquid assets. The things that they can easily turn into cash are even higher, exceeding INR 2,042 crores. That's about 250 million US dollars.
Yeah, they're in a very, very strong financial position. It's a lot of firepower for a company of their size.
It is, and that's where their whole under-the-radar success becomes a real advantage.
I see what you mean.
Having those kinds of cash reserves gives them so much freedom to be ambitious.
Yeah.
They can take risks that other companies might not be able to. They can pursue groundbreaking ventures,
Uh-huh.
and they don't have to rely on outside funding to do it.
So they've got this independence that's really rare in the pharmaceutical world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that independence is incredibly valuable,
Mhm.
especially in such a cutthroat industry.
Yeah, for sure. So they built this empire on affordable generics, but it seems like they're not content to just stay in that lane.
No, they're not.
They're making some bold moves,
They are.
like launching their own label in the U.S., Caplin Steriles USA.
It's a big step.
It is. And they're not stopping there. They're diving headfirst into the development of specialty products, including things like biosimilars.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure what a biosimilar is. Sure, so biosimilars are basically like generic versions of those incredibly complex and often very expensive biologic drugs.
Okay.
It's kind of like, imagine taking a really intricate recipe and trying to recreate it perfectly. You need that level of precision.
So it's not just about replicating a simple chemical formula.
Mhm.
It's about recreating this incredibly complex biological process.
Exactly. And it's a tough market to crack, but if Caplin Point can pull it off, the rewards could be huge.
And get this, they're even exploring the development of entirely new chemical entities. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Moving from generics to creating entirely original drugs, it's like they're transforming from a cover band to
Yeah.
writing their own hit songs.
That's a great analogy.
But with all these ambitious moves, I mean, aren't they taking on a massive amount of risk?
Well, risk is always a part of business, especially in pharmaceuticals. But Caplin Point seems to be taking a very calculated approach. They're not just, throwing money at every shiny new idea that comes along.
So they're being strategic.
Exactly. They're building a solid foundation in one area before they expand into another. It's like they're building a tower very carefully, brick by brick.
They're playing the long game,
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
which makes their expansion plans even more interesting. They're building new manufacturing facilities in India, including one dedicated to oncology. And they're even considering setting up shop in Mexico for contract manufacturing.
Wow.
That's a global footprint. It's not just regional anymore.
No, it's not.
What's the thinking behind spreading out like that?
Well, diversification is key. By expanding their manufacturing capabilities, they're not only increasing their production capacity, but
Hmm.
they're also mitigating risk.
Okay, I see.
Think about it. If there's a disruption in one region, they can still rely on production in another.
So it's about building resilience into their business model.
Exactly. Flexibility, resilience.
Let's all start to make sense. They're building this incredibly robust, self-sufficient operation,
Yeah.
kind of like a well-oiled machine with all these parts working in perfect harmony.
I like that analogy. And what's really cool is that they're not just replicating what's already out there. They're incorporating all this cutting-edge technology into their operation.
Oh, yeah, in the factories, right?
Yeah, things like advanced automation digital systems, all to maximize efficiency and maintain really, really high-quality control standards.
Yeah, from what I saw in the investor call transcripts, they're really emphasizing this paperless factory approach.
Yes.
Electronic logbooks, fully electronic batch records. It's like they're bringing pharmaceutical manufacturing into the digital age.
And that's not just about being trendy. These systems help to reduce errors, improve traceability, which is absolutely crucial in pharmaceuticals, and ultimately they lead to better quality products.
And probably a competitive advantage, too.
Oh, absolutely. You have to stay ahead of the curve in this industry, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing.
So I'm seeing a pattern here. It's like Caplin Point is taking this very deliberate, calculated approach to absolutely everything they do.
Yeah.
They're not just reacting to market trends. They're setting their own pace,
Yeah.
building a solid foundation, and then using that to launch themselves into these new and ambitious ventures.
Exactly. And that brings us to their approach to China,
Okay.
which I find particularly fascinating. They've had a presence there for almost 2 decades, but they're not rushing in blindly. They're being very cautious about how they navigate the political landscape.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and they're leveraging their existing connections to access APIs, explore R&D partnerships, and tap into that huge pool of expertise that China has to offer.
So they're walking this tightrope, trying to balance the immense potential of the Chinese market with all the geopolitical complexities that come with it.
Precisely. And they're doing it with a level of strategic thinking that I find really impressive.
It sounds like they're not just chasing profits.
No, they're not.
They're building these long-term sustainable relationships. And they're doing it with a clear understanding of the risks involved.
Exactly. That's what makes their approach so interesting.
Yeah, Caplin Point is definitely a company that's doing things their own way.
Yeah,
And it seems to be working for them.
it really does. They're a company to watch, that's for sure.
When I hear about a company that is consistently profitable and sitting on a pile of cash, my first thought isn't usually research and development. But from everything we've seen so far, Caplin Point seems to be putting serious resources into innovation.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about expanding, it's about evolving.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a key takeaway here. And it really speaks to their long-term vision. They're not content to just ride the wave of generics.
Right.
They're actively pushing into more specialized areas.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah. For example, they're developing semaglutide tablets,
Semaglutide tablets.
which could be huge.
Really?
Yeah, the patent on the injectable form of this diabetes drug is expiring soon in a lot of countries.
Oh, I see.
So that opens up a massive potential market for a more convenient oral version.
So they're anticipating future needs and positioning themselves to be at the forefront of the next wave of treatments.
Exactly.
But it's not just about tweaking existing drugs either.
Right.
The investor calls mentioned something called MC1. What is that? Is that like some top secret formula they're cooking up?
Well, MC1 is actually a new chemical entity that they're developing,
Oh, wow.
which means it's a completely original drug.
So they're not just making generics anymore. They're actually creating new medications from scratch.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
I guess. And details are pretty scarce at this stage, which is understandable. Early stage drug development is usually shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the fact that they're even investing in this kind of research shows how serious they are about innovation.
It's like they're planting seeds that might take years to bear fruit,
Yeah,
but could eventually yield a whole new crop of treatments.
exactly. A very long-term vision.
And they're not doing it alone, are they? They're partnering with other R&D companies as well.
That's right. They've mentioned collaborations with private research groups for several projects.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, one example is the development of specialty products that are currently manufactured by Japan and sold in India and China.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's a clever strategy. It allows them to tap into specialized expertise and potentially access new markets much faster than if they were going it alone.
Yeah, it's like a shortcut.
Kinda, yeah.
They're also making some serious waves in the world of biosimilars, which, as you explained, are essentially generic versions of those super complex biologic drugs.
Right.
But from what I've read, it's not as simple as just copying a formula.
It's not, no.
There are some major hurdles to overcome.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is sourcing the API,
The API.
the active ingredient that actually makes the drug work.
Okay.
It's like trying to find the rarest, most potent spice for a recipe. You can't just pick it up at the grocery store.
I see what you mean. So it's not just about the scientific know-how. It's also about having access to these very specific and sometimes hard-to-find ingredients.
Exactly.
And it sounds like Caplin Point is taking this challenge very seriously. They've been in talks with multiple companies to secure a steady supply of high-quality APIs for their biosimilars.
They have. And here's the really interesting part. Their plan is to handle the formulation and manufacturing themselves in their own factories.
Oh, wow. So they're not outsourcing that part?
Not initially.
No.
They're focusing on markets outside of the U.S. to start with.
That's interesting.
It's a smart move. It allows them to build expertise in this very complex area while also minimizing the initial risk.
So they're kind of dipping their toes in the water before they jump all the way in?
Exactly.
They're taking on the hard part, the formulation, which is where the real scientific magic happens.
Yeah.
But they're being strategic about it,
Yeah.
focusing on markets where they already have a strong presence.
Precisely.
And let's not forget their move into the insulin market.
All right.
I mean, they've already started outsourcing insulin production from China for their Latin American markets.
They have.
And they're even considering the possibility of manufacturing it in-house down the line.
That's a big step.
Insulin is a life-saving drug for millions of people with diabetes, and the demand is only going to grow.
That's true.
It seems like a natural fit for Caplin Point, aligning with their mission of providing affordable access to essential medications.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But stepping into a market like that with all the established players and complex manufacturing processes, I mean, it must be daunting.
It definitely comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah.
But Caplin Point has a track record of facing challenges head-on and finding innovative solutions.
They do seem to have a knack for that.
Yeah, so their ability to successfully navigate the complexities of biosimilar development and insulin manufacturing will be crucial to their future success in these high-growth markets.
So from generics to specialty products, biosimilars, new chemical entities, and now insulin.
It's quite a range.
Caplin Point is building a remarkably diverse portfolio.
They are.
It seems like their R&D efforts are pushing them toward becoming a much more well-rounded pharmaceutical player.
Absolutely. They're not just following trends, they're anticipating them. They're strategically positioning themselves to capitalize on emerging opportunities in the pharmaceutical landscape.
It's a very dynamic and forward-thinking approach
Sure.
that sets them apart from a lot of their competitors.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
One of the key phrases that kept popping up in those investor calls was vertically integrated business model. It sounds very corporate jargony,
It does a bit.
but I have a feeling it's more than just buzzwords.
Oh, it definitely is.
Can you break it down for us? What does it actually mean?
Sure. So think of it like this. Imagine a master chef who not only creates the recipe, but also sources the ingredients, preps them, cooks the meal, and even serves it on their own custom-designed plate.
Okay.
That's kind of what Caplin Point is doing. They're aiming to control multiple stages of their production process.
From start to finish.
Exactly.
Okay.
From API manufacturing to formulation packaging and even distribution.
So they're not just relying on a bunch of different suppliers and middlemen.
No, they're not. They're becoming a self-contained powerhouse, controlling quality and costs at every step.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. And strategically brilliant. By managing the entire chain, they're not as vulnerable to external disruptions.
Okay, I see.
You know, if there's a shortage of a particular ingredient or a price hike from a supplier, they have more control over their own destiny.
It's about being self-sufficient.
Exactly. And it also allows them to ensure consistent quality and potentially get their products to market faster, more efficiently.
It's like they're building a pharmaceutical fortress,
Yeah,
ready to weather any storm.
I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of efficiency,
Yes.
their emphasis on automation and digitization in their factories really stands out.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember all those LIMS systems, SAP systems, electronic document management they talked about?
Yeah, they're really going all in on the digital transformation.
They're even moving towards electronic logbooks and aiming for fully paperless batch manufacturing and packing records.
It's like they're taking the concept of the paperless office and applying it to an entire manufacturing process.
Exactly.
And it's not just about saving trees, right?
Of course not.
What are the real benefits of this level of automation?
Well, for one, it minimizes human error, which is absolutely crucial in an industry where precision is paramount.
Right. Every detail matters.
Exactly. And it also speeds up production, improves traceability, and simplifies regulatory compliance.
So it's not just about efficiency, it's also about accuracy and accountability.
Precisely. And all of that can lead to better quality products and ultimately a competitive edge.
It's a win-win situation.
It really is.
Yeah.
They're improving efficiency, quality control, and potentially even creating a more streamlined and satisfying work environment for their employees.
So everybody benefits.
Yeah.
It's clear that they're not just following the crowd, they're charting their own course.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to their approach to China, which I think is a perfect example of their calculated risk-taking philosophy.
Right.
They've had a long history there, but they're not rushing into any grand ventures.
No, they're being very strategic.
Yeah.
They're leveraging their existing network and experience to cautiously explore opportunities.
Which makes sense given the complexities of that market.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah. And they've rekindled their relationship with Jointown, the second largest distributor in China,
Wow.
which opens doors to a vast network of potential partners and resources.
That's huge.
It is, but they're also very aware of the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
The geopolitical climate is always in flux, and doing business in China comes with its own unique set of challenges.
Yeah, it's a delicate balancing act.
It is. They're walking a tightrope between the immense potential and the inherent risks.
And they're doing it with a level of transparency that I find really commendable.
Yeah, in the investor calls, they've even mentioned the possibility of sourcing APIs from China for their U.S.-bound products. But they're very clear that they would only work with companies that meet the highest quality standards, and that the final manufacturing and packaging would still happen in India.
That's a crucial point. They're acknowledging the potential for scrutiny, especially when it comes to sourcing from China for the U.S. market.
Right.
So they're being proactive and taking steps to ensure complete transparency and compliance.
Exactly. They're not cutting corners or taking unnecessary risks.
It's all about calculated moves.
It is. They're carefully evaluating each opportunity, weighing the potential rewards against the potential challenges, and putting safeguards in place to ensure ethical and responsible business practices.
Their approach to China is really a microcosm of their overall approach to business.
I think so, too.
It's about calculated risk-taking strategic partnerships and a commitment to maintaining the highest standards of quality and ethics no matter where they operate.
It's a model that a lot of companies, regardless of industry, could learn from.
Yeah,
It's about finding that balance between ambition and prudence, between pushing boundaries and mitigating risks, and always staying true to your core values.
and it seems like those core values extend beyond just profits and business strategy.
Right.
Caplin Point seems to be putting just as much emphasis on social responsibility,
We do.
especially their commitment to providing affordable medications to those who need them most.
Yeah. Their bottom of the pyramid strategy is more than just a business model. It's a reflection of their commitment to improving healthcare access for underserved communities.
Yeah, they're not just selling drugs.
No.
They're trying to make a real difference in people's lives.
And in the investor calls, they talk about this idea with such passion.
Yeah, it's really striking.
It's not just corporate jargon. It
Yeah.
seems to be deeply ingrained in their company culture. They're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And they're not shying away from highlighting specific initiatives either.
No, they're not. They've spoken at length about their efforts to empower women in their factories.
Oh,
Yeah, particularly in shop floor roles and in analytical and quality control positions.
it's about creating opportunities,
Yeah,
fostering a more diverse and inclusive work environment,
absolutely.
and ultimately building a stronger and more resilient company.
Exactly. Their approach to social responsibility is a testament to their belief that business can be a force for good in the world.
It's inspiring to see a company that's so committed to both doing well and doing good.
It is. It's refreshing.
They're proving that profit and purpose don't have to be mutually exclusive.
And they're setting a powerful example for other businesses to follow.
Yeah, Caplin Point is demonstrating that it's possible to achieve remarkable financial success while also staying true to your values and making a meaningful contribution to the world.
It's a message that resonates deeply in today's world where consumers are increasingly demanding more from the companies they support.
Right? People want to know that their money is going towards businesses that are not only creating value, but also making a positive impact on society. You know, we've talked a lot about Caplin Point's moves, strategically their financial strength, and of course their commitment to social responsibility. But I think what really sets them apart is this almost contrarian approach to doing business.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to consistently zig when everyone else is zagging, and it's clearly working for them.
It really is. It's like they took the traditional pharmaceutical playbook and just tossed it out the window.
Right.
Instead of chasing the biggest, most lucrative markets, they focused on these niche areas that other companies kind of overlooked.
Right.
They built a really solid foundation, a loyal customer base,
Right.
and then they used that to expand into these more competitive arenas.
And their whole bottom of the pyramid strategy is a perfect example of this. I
Absolutely.
mean, they found incredible success in smaller Latin American markets by providing high-quality generics at prices that people can actually afford.
Right. It's a brilliant move. It creates this win-win situation for both the company and the communities that they serve.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most overlooked markets can actually hold the greatest potential.
Yeah, I think that's a really important takeaway.
Caplin Point saw an opportunity where others only saw challenges,
They did.
and they capitalized on it brilliantly.
Yeah, they did.
And now they're taking that same approach and applying it to their expansion into the U.S. market.
That's right.
But instead of trying to go head-to-head with the big guys,
Yeah.
competing for shelf space in the major pharmacies,
Hmm.
they're focusing on building relationships with smaller hospitals,
Mhm.
clinics, healthcare systems.
It's like finding a niche within a niche.
Yeah, exactly.
They're targeting these segments of the market that are often underserved by the larger distributors, offering competitive pricing, consistent supply, and really focusing on building those personal relationships.
It's like they're taking a page from the playbook of successful startups. Disrupt the market
Yeah.
by focusing on a specific need that's not being met by the established players.
Yeah. I like that analogy.
And from what we've seen, it seems to be working.
It does.
They're gaining traction in the U.S. market by offering a different kind of value proposition.
Right.
One that prioritizes accessibility and affordability.
Yeah.
But without compromising on quality.
Exactly.
Another area where they're really bucking the trend is their wholehearted embrace of new technologies.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just dipping their toes in the water here.
No.
They're diving headfirst into automation, digitization, even artificial intelligence.
Their commitment to building what they call smart factories is really impressive.
Yeah.
They're investing heavily in these cutting-edge systems that streamline their operations, improve efficiency, enhance quality control.
It's a clear sign that they're not content with just doing things the way they've always been done.
Right. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in pharmaceutical manufacturing.
It's like they're taking a page from the tech industry's playbook,
Yeah.
adopting that Silicon Valley mindset and applying it to the world of pharmaceuticals.
And it's not just about being trendy.
No.
It's about using technology to solve real-world problems, to improve their operations, and ultimately to create better products.
And from a business perspective, it's a really smart move.
Oh, absolutely.
By embracing automation and digitization, they're positioning themselves as this forward-thinking, technologically advanced company.
Right, which is a huge advantage in attracting investors, partners, top talent.
So it's clear that Caplin Point is not afraid to challenge the status quo,
They're not.
to do things differently,
Yeah.
and to carve their own path to success.
And their unconventional approach seems to be paying off in a big way.
It really does.
They've achieved this remarkable financial success, expanded their global reach, and built a reputation for quality and innovation.
Their story is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most successful companies are the ones that are willing to break the mold, think differently, and challenge conventional wisdom.
Yeah, you have to have that clear vision, a strong sense of purpose, and the courage to pursue it, even if it means taking the road less traveled.
So what does the future hold for Caplin Point Laboratories?
Well, if their past is any indication, it's going to be an exciting ride.
Yeah, they've certainly proven they're not afraid to take risks, to innovate, and to really push the boundaries of what's possible in the pharmaceutical industry.
I think we can expect to see them continue to grow and expand, both geographically and in terms of their product portfolio.
It does seem like they're always on the move.
They are. Yeah, they're constantly exploring new opportunities, forging those strategic partnerships, and investing in cutting-edge technologies.
They're a company that's always looking for the next challenge.
Yeah, always striving to be better.
And rewriting the rules of the game along the way.
Exactly.
They're proving that you don't have to follow the traditional path to achieve remarkable success.
It's an inspiring story for entrepreneurs, business leaders, anyone who's ever dared to dream big and challenge the status quo.
Caplin Point Laboratories is a company that's definitely worth watching closely.
Absolutely.
Their journey is a testament to the power of innovation, strategic thinking, and a relentless pursuit of excellence.
And I have a feeling the most exciting chapters of their story are still yet to be written.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Caplin Point Laboratories. We uncovered a fascinating story of ambition, innovation, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world.
It's a company that's defying expectations and proving that success can come in many forms. We hope you found this deep dive insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.